Chapter 1, $1 Million Goal, $1 Million Character. Most of my life I was an emotional dumpster fire. I was full of insecurities and foolish idiosyncrasies. My name is Roger Grimes. I have been in leadership for over 30 years. Even though I was a mess for over 10 of those years, I have spent the past 20 years on self-improvement and building my leadership skills. The 12 principles in this book have been a major factor in my personal growth. Before we get into the 12 life-changing principles, I will share a little bit of my story and what has led to this book. Let me begin my story with a taste of my childhood. Then I will share with you my failed attempt to earn $1 million in 5 years and how it transformed my character. Not like my parents. There was mental trauma throughout my childhood, as well as financial issues. I came from a dysfunctional household, as my parents always argued and us kids would bicker. My sister and I had stupid fights, but stuck together when our parents would fight, which was every day and almost every interaction they had. My dad would act like a man-child towards us kids. It was almost like he was jealous of the attention we received. My dad was not a bad man, but he was immature when it came to feelings and relationships. And my mom was a loving person with a wall of hatred that would sometimes block her loving side. Both my parents had many childhood issues that resulted in their dysfunction. Due to the lack of self-esteem paired with negativity and childhood traumas that both of my parents had, it were these issues that kept both my parents from shining with the special gifts and talents they were blessed with. Our family never had a lot of money. I'm talking government cheese, food stamps, and mayonnaise sandwiches poor. My parents had a hard time paying bills like rent and utilities due to a bad financial plan. When I said bad financial plan, I mean there was no plan. They had no idea on how to handle finances. My dad would give his paycheck over to my mom and she would spend it on pain pills and alcohol. I was never taught the skills I needed to learn to have a balanced financial life as well as how to lead a functional family. I did not want to be like my parents, since they both had difficulty expressing their feelings in a positive manner, also letting their past dictate their present and future. I did end up picking up the best of both of my parents, as well as some bad habits, realizing I needed to be more. I started dating my wife in April of 1998. She had 3 kids, all boys, ages 10, 5, and 4. We got married in June 2002. Instant family. And I opened my karate dojo in October 2002. I was 27 years old with a new family and business, as well as having a full-time job as a manager of a family restaurant. My plate was full. When I was turning 30 years old, I was thinking about my life and what I have or have not accomplished and where am I going from here. I thought about how I have become a husband, father, leader, as well as a mentor. I realized I have true influence. This hit me hard, since I still had my own issues, and I did not want to run my household like my parents. I also did not want to let my mess dictate the way I led my staff at the restaurant and the way I mentored my karate students. I did not want my mess seeping into my influence. Something needed to change. I concluded that I needed to better myself for my family first, and then my work staff and karate students. I thought that if I improved myself, it would benefit the influence I had on my family and those I led at the workplace and karate. Now with this plan to improve myself for those around me, I also set a goal to earn $1 million in 5 years. I had this thought that if I raised my bank account, that would better the quality of life for my family, and I thought that would improve me. That was in 2005, and now it has been 20 years since I made that $1 million goal. I think I was closer to being eaten by a Tyrannosaurus than I was to reaching my goal of $1 million. Heck, I even found myself in the debt, to the point that I almost lost my house. I knew I needed to improve myself, and part of me thought that by improving my bank account, that would improve me. I never had much money and did not realize how much work my character needed. Now I know how much more important self-improvement is than a large bank account. Good character has greater influence than lots of money. The next section talks about my steps to reach $1 million, or lack of, and the beginning of my change. My $1 million journey turns to character building. My big financial opportunity has arrived. So I thought. One of the longtime customers at the restaurant I was managing started to talk to me about a side business opportunity that I could do in my spare time. This interaction surprised me because this customer never spoke much over the years that he has been coming into the restaurant. He gave me some information on this company to look over. I gave it a few weeks and then talked to him about this opportunity. This was a multi-level marketing company, or some would call it a pyramid scheme. Many multi-level marketing companies are schemes, as the product or service is overpriced and is just a way to make lots of money from those who are distributors. But this company was a good company who was publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. I was looking for an opportunity to earn more money. So I tried working this multi-level marketing company and did good for the first month or so, but found out that I really did not like this kind of business. Having to go out, trying to get new customers and a downline to build my team. But that gentleman who introduced this company to me also introduced the world of motivational speakers and self-improvement, which I was seeking self-improvement, and this pointed me in the right direction. I stayed with the company for over a year, paying for the services for myself, because I believed and have used the services, even though I did not sell the service very often after the first 2 months. I am grateful for that opportunity because I received 2 important things from this company. 1, a friend. 2, direction from my life. My $1 million journey was short-lived, partially because I had no idea on how to earn $1 million, and I lacked imagination. I did not have a clear plan. The major reason my goal fell short was because I lost interest and focused on personal growth. After several years of listening and reading things by some of the best motivational speakers and life coaches, I began changing a little bit at a time for the better. I was reading things on managing my finances and how to earn more money. But one of the motivational speakers said, if you're looking for leadership skills, read the Bible. There's lots about leadership in the Bible. I was also seeking leadership skills at the time, so I did pick up the Bible. I've always believed in God and Jesus, but I just did not live a godly life, let alone study the ways of God. I thought about the time I spent reading about earning money and how I have never read the Bible. The only Bible I had was a old Catholic mantle Bible from the 1970s that my mom gave me. It was huge. I prayed for the first time in years, and I prayed for God to guide me on where to start reading. Then I opened to 1 Samuel. I wanted to start in the story of David and Goliath since I have always related to that story when I was a kid. Not knowing that the story of David and Goliath is in 1 Samuel, I started to read and discovered that is where that story resides. I felt a connection with God like never before, and I felt that He was guiding me. Then I began to pray more often. Now I was still reading motivational books and listening to different motivational speakers as well as studying the Word of God. At this point in my life, I realized seeking $1 million was not that important anymore, but the seeking of oneself and improving oneself takes top priority. I now know that God was using the self-improvement seeking I was doing to bring me closer to Him and lead me into my next role of serving in the church and passing wisdom via my writing and public speaking. I know some of you are reading this book and may not want to hear about God, Jesus, or church, but this is my story and it is important to the making of this book. I do know many of the Christians who know me are looking for me to write a full-out Christian book, but this book is written for everyone. I will be writing a book called 12 Principles for Greater Influence, Ministry Edition, as well as other Christian books. But I wanted to start my writing from where I began, and that is the motivational and inspirational route, but not hiding the fact that I became a born-again Christian through this journey. Spiritual change. It was around Christmas time when I started listening to a local Christian radio station because they would play Christmas music continuously for a week up until Christmas. I would listen to this station on my way home from teaching karate. They played a show called The John Tesh Radio Show, and there was a section titled Intelligence for Your Life. On his show, John Tesh talked about different things that could improve your life. Could it have been by chance that I was looking to better myself and improving my life that I would find this radio show? I don't think it was by chance, but divine intervention. I still listened to John Tesh's show after Christmas, and then the Christian music would play, and it started to get into my spirit. And I was still reading the Bible daily and praying more often, but I wasn't looking for a church. My son went to a friend's church when he was 15 years old, and when he came home, he told me that he got saved. I told my son, "That's great," not fully understanding what it really meant to be saved. Then I bought him a Bible, yet I still wasn't looking for a church. A few weeks later, my son asked to go to the Word Church, since a friend of ours was attending there. And that is where my wife and I joined the church and became born again in 2007. At this church, my pastor was speaking my language of improving oneself via the Word of God and drawing us closer to God. I began serving in ministry around 2008, and that changed me for the better once again. Flash forward a few years, I was moved into the role of deacon and then minister. 12 Principles for Greater Influence is born. Where did the idea of 12 Principles for Greater Influence come from? It all started when I wanted to add a youth leadership program at my karate school. And I wanted leadership principles that were chock full of good morals. I thought about it and came up with 12 leadership principles comprised from all the motivational principles and biblical principles for life that I learned. I called it leadership principles at the time. I started to teach these principles in the youth karate class. I taught one principle each class. I never thought this would become a book until a few years later. Then I started to write this book over 15 years ago. I put it down several times because I did not think I was ready to write this book, because I needed to work on these principles myself a little more. I still taught these principles to the kids, and I told them, honestly, I still need to work on these principles also. So I will work on them with you. Then I started to write again, and then took another break because it was grueling trying to maintain my stupid busy schedule, which I had made for myself. This break was longer than I planned, but I started to write again, just to put it down for another book idea. I put that other book idea down and wrote my first book that is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, Kindle, Audible, and many other places. My book is called Lessons from the Cage, Life Lessons from MMA. That book is about life lessons I learned from full contact MMA cage fighting. And many of the lessons from my fighting experience have been learned because of the principles in this book. I am now finally finishing this book. As I started my self-improvement journey with that $1 million goal, I put that aside to seek $1 million character. The money has become better since I chose to switch my focus from money to character. I am sure that I will someday reach $1 million. But if I don't, I have reached much greater gifts than that. I have a better relationship with my family. I have become a better mentor and a source of wisdom for others, which leads me to being a greater influence. I have made changes to these principles over the years to add more depth to my teachings. These are sound principles that help your life as well as build you to help others in their life. The next 12 chapters will be these principles. Enjoy the journey, and I hope you get the most from this book to improve whatever you desire.